Hello and welcome to the movement series. Today's routine is going to be a really challenging routine. There's going to be lots of one leg standing balancing, and there's also going to be a few different modifications. So at any stage, drop to the knees, take a breather and rejoin us at any point. Let's get straight into it. So coming up to the front of the mat, we're going to start off with our usual warm up, our sun salutation routine. So reaching up to the ceiling, take a nice deep breath in and then folding forward, hands down to the mat. Tuck the chin into the chest and just allow that back to warm up and stretch out. Knees can be slightly bent. And then coming up onto the fingertips. So if we can't quite reach the mat, we can have the hands on the shins. But let's get our breathing into check. Tuck the chin in a little bit. Push the knees backwards without completely locking them. And then we're going to step back into our press up plank. So a couple of modifications here. We can be on our forearms, we can be on our knees. So just choose the modification that suits you best. If we're in the full press up, make sure the hands are directly under the shoulders. The back is flat, the hips are level, and we're able to breathe in a controlled manner. That's a really good one for warming up the stabilizing muscles around our spine, around our hips. Okay, and when we're ready, we can either drop to the knees and come down slowly, or we can come down in the full press up. So just above the mat or laying on the mat. Take a couple of breaths here. And then coming up into our upward dog. So we can modify this, dropping the forearms down on the mat and just lifting our chest up. Or we can be hands on the mat, opening up the shoulders. So it's quite a challenging posture this. The back is very rarely in this extended position. So just ease into it, warm the body up. And then when we're ready, coming up onto the toes and coming back into our downward dog. So first one of the day, just checking how the body's feeling. Make sure our breathing is nice and consistent. The breath really is at the forefront of all of these movement routines. So at any stage, dropping to the knees and rejoining us. So let's push into the hands, into the fingertips. Heels can be slightly off the mat. Knees can be slightly bent. But let's try and get that back nice and flat. So we're getting the arms in this overhead position. Really good for building strength and stability around the shoulder. And then when we're ready, walking the feet up in between the hands and coming up into standing. Okay, second set. Reaching up to the ceiling, create spine space through the spine. And then folding forward. Hands down to the mat and tuck the chin into the chest. Nice deep breath in and coming up onto our fingertips or hands on the shins, but let's try and keep that back flat. Let's tuck the chin in, create space, sitting back into the hips, push the knees backwards a little bit without locking them out completely. then when we're ready, stepping back into our press up plank. So again, drop into the forearms or on the knees if you want to modify it. We're in the full press up. Make sure the hands are strong. Pushing through the hands, we're lifting up through the shoulders. We're not dropping through the shoulders and putting pressure on our back. We're staying nice and stable, nice and strong. Couple of deep breaths here. And then we can either drop to the knees and come down slowly, or come down in the press up. So just above the mat, so we're hovering an inch off the mat, or we're laying on the mat. Elbows by the side. And then coming up into our upward dog. Open up the shoulders. So again, you can drop your forearms down onto the mat and make that modification. So if we're in this position and this feels really comfortable, what we can do is we can bring the feet together now and we can just lift the knees off the mat a little bit. So we're just resting on the fronts of our feet and our hands. So the thighs are just above the mat. And if we're somewhere in between, we can place the thighs back onto the mat and then come back up. So it just adds a little bit more intensity, but just listen to the body. And from here, coming up and backwards into our downward dog. Just warm the back of the legs up a little bit, dropping the heel down on one side and then the other. Sinking down into the shoulders, pushing with the hands. This warm-up routine is fantastic, even just done in isolation. Puts the body through a lot of its key movement patterns. It builds strength and stability. And then from here, we're going to walk the feet up in between the hands and coming up into standing. Okay, third and final set. Reaching up to the ceiling, create space through that back. And then folding forward. Hands down to the mat, tuck the chin into the chest, push the knees backwards a little bit. And let's hold it here. So the importance of having the knees slightly bent is we actually put the muscle under tension, we get it working. Instead of locking the knees out, where we're just right at end range. It's just a really beneficial way of releasing the actual muscle belly. Putting a little bit of tension through the muscle, getting it working. And then coming up onto the fingertips, tucking the chin into the chest, keeping the back flat. We can have the hands onto the shins. And then from here, I'm going to place the hands down on the mat. I'm going to step back into our press up plank. So again, making the modification where needed to suit you and your capabilities. There has to be some level of control when we're doing these movements. So just dial back the intensity if needed. Okay, and from this press up plank, we can drop to the knees and come down slowly. We can come down elbows by the side to just above the mat, so we're 1 inch off the mat, elbows by the side. We can be laying on the mat if needed, and then coming up into our upward dog. So again, dropping down to the forearms if needed. If this is nice and comfortable for you, bring the feet together And let's lift the thighs and knees off the mat. So we're just on our hands and just on the front of our feet. Open up the shoulders. Breathing into our belly. And then coming back into your downward dog. So the shoulders will be nice and warm now. The body will be warming up. Probably getting an idea of where the tension is in your body today. So sink down into those shoulders. Hips up towards the ceiling. Now from here, we're going to transition back into our press up plank. So in control, coming back into your plank position. And again, this can be on the forearms or on the knees. So if the press up plank is feeling nice and comfortable, bring the feet together. I'm going to draw the left knee in and hold. And bring it back. Right knee in and hold. And back. One more time. Left knee in and hold. And back. And right knee in and hold. And back. And let's transition back into our downward dog. Okay, good time to drop to the knees if you just need to give the arms a shake out. It's challenging making that transition. Okay, a couple more breaths here. We're going to do one more set of this transition. So when we're ready, coming back into our plank, choosing the modification that suits you. Bring the feet together if you're nice and comfortable. And you want to take it to this third modification, lifting the left leg up and drawing it into the chest and hold. And back. Right leg up, draw it in and hold. And back. One more time, left knee in and hold. And back. Right knee in and hold. And back. And then coming back into our downward dog. So it's really important when we're doing bringing the knee into the chest that we keep the hips nice and level. Let's get our breath under control. Now from here, we're going to keep that right foot on the mat. And we're going to take a step forward with our left foot towards our hands, bend the knee, and then coming up into our lunge. So you can drop to the knee to make this transition if needed. If you can get that left foot forward, getting into this forward lunge in one go, that'd be great. So let's draw the pelvis in. Let's get nice and strong through our stomach, reaching overhead. Getting that right foot behind. And then we're going to place the hands back down on the ground. And we're going to step back into our pressed up plank again. Take a couple of breaths here. And then we're going to step forward with the right foot. So get into position before you bring your hands off the mat. And when we're there, coming up into our lunge on the right hand side. So a little bit of dynamic movement there, challenging the body in a slightly different way. Let's draw the pelvis in. Stand nice and tall, get that left leg behind. Couple more breaths here. And then placing the hands back down on the mat. Step back into our press up plank. And let's hold it here. And again, we can be on our forearms for this one. And let's go again. So we can either drop to the knees and get into the lunge position, or we can step that left foot forward, keeping both hands on the mat while we steady ourselves. Then coming up and reaching. So just go nice and easy on that transition. If it's just too much, just come up into standing and then reposition yourself. Okay, a couple more breaths here. And then placing the hands back on the mat. Step that left foot back. Take a few breaths here. And then when we're ready, we're going to do one more. Stepping that right foot forward. By all means, come up into standing first if you need to. Get into position. And when we're ready, making the step up and reaching up. Drawing in that pelvis, extending that back leg behind us. Balance, coordination, strength, controlled breathing. And then from here, we're going to step up into standing. Good work. Okay, let's get into our warrior pose. So lining up the heels, so front heel with back heel, right foot at 90 degrees. And let's sink down. So make sure the body's nice and vertical. And let's bring the arms up. Let's sink down. Now if this is challenging enough, stay where you're at. If you want to take it a step further, we're going to place that left elbow gently on the left knee and right arm up. So making sure there's very little pressure going through that left elbow. If you want to take it one step further, I'm going to place that left hand down so the fingertips are just touching the mat. And there's actually going to be a fourth modification. So if we're nice and challenged here, or you just want to try something a little bit different, we're going to bring the right hand down to just touching the inside of that left foot. Left hand underneath and holding the other side of the ankle. So we're gently holding onto our ankle with our hands. And we're just sinking down. So again, make sure we're not gripping hold of that ankle. Make sure we're not pushing the body too hard. We want to challenge ourselves, but we want to be in control. This is just a great one for just increasing that stretch through the hips.
Now from here, we're going to rejoin the first modification in control, coming up, arm shoulder level, and then straighten that left foot. Pivot in with the left foot, pivot out with the right, so right foot pointing forward, left foot at 90 degrees, and we're going to sink down into that right hip, bringing the arms up for our first modification. So this is a great posture to do. You don't need to go any further if this is challenging. If you do want to take it one step further, right elbow gently on the knee and left arm up. If you want to take it one step further, getting the fingertips down just on the mat and reaching up, opening up the chest. So we're working a couple of really important patterns here. Spinal rotation, hip flexion, and if you want to mix it up and try the fourth modification, we're going to bring the left hand down to just touch the inside of that right foot, and the right hand is just going to go under and grabbing the other side of that right foot. So you're almost getting that shoulder underneath that right thigh, and we're just going to sink in. So again, just take it nice and easy. If it's too much, too intense, come out, regroup and rejoin us. It's really important you listen to your body. We should be able to stay calm in these positions, keep the breath fluid. Okay, and if we're in this fourth modification, we're going to come up slowly, in control, and rejoin our first posture. So coming up, sinking down, body nice and vertical. And then straighten that leg. Good work. Bringing the feet together. Fantastic. Okay. So we're going to get into our one leg balancing now. So we're going to stand up nice and tall. Spread the toes out on the left foot. I'm going to reach that right knee up. Now, stay here. If this feels challenging enough, we're working the hip here. It's a great pattern to build strength and stability. If you want to take it a step further, I want you to sweep that right foot behind, nice and tall through the back. Make sure the body is staying nice and square to the mat. We're going to hold it here, and if you want to take it one step further, we're reaching the arms out. So you're almost in a T shape. We can have the arms down in front if that's just a bit too intense on the shoulders. So just choose this third modification if you just want to challenge the body a little bit more. Okay. And then coming back in control, right knee up. Feel free to take a breather in between each rep. The most important thing that is you complete all 3 reps on each side in control. And just rejoin us when you're ready. So staying in this first modification, if this is challenging for you. If you want to take it a step further, sweeping that right foot behind, hinging forward on that left foot. And if you want to take it one step further, reaching the arms out in front. So you're almost in a T shape. Make sure we're not twisting through the body. If you're unsure what your back's doing, good time to grab your pole. We can hold it on our back, just to make sure we're not bending through the back. All the movements coming from the hips. Reach forward coming up, rejoining the first modification. So let's get your breath back. Good opportunity to drop the foot down and take a breather. This is hard work, so you're working out on your own, no one's watching you. Take a stop, press pause, and just slowly work away on it day by day. And with consistency, you'll make some good improvements. So from here, if this is challenging enough for you, stay here. If you want to take it a step further, we're going to sweep that right foot back, keeping the body nice and square. So even weight through the foot. We're not gripping with the toes, we're not balancing on our heel. If you want to take it to the third modification, reaching forward and balancing. And then coming up in control and placing that right foot down. Give that left leg a nice shake out. So that was good work. Okay, get the breath back. Nice deep inhale. And let's get set up for the right balance. And so this is a great exercise for noticing left and right imbalances. So let's bring that left knee up to 90 degrees. And again, we can even modify this. We can just have it out in front if it's just too much, if you're new to these routines. So it's not about pushing your body right to the edge. It's about slowly building stability. If this is challenging for you, stay here. No need to go any further. If you want to take it one step further, let's get into our second modification where we're sweeping the foot behind and we're hinging forward. And again, we don't have to go down any distance. We can have the hands out in front, but make sure the back is straight. And if you want to take it one step further, reaching the arms out into our T shape. So this is a full body move. We're connecting our shoulders to our hips, our big lats, back muscles. And then we're going to come up and through, in control. We're not rushing it. Take a breather at any point. And let's go again. So staying in this first modification. If you want to take it a step further, sweeping that left foot back. Coming down, arms out in front. Make sure the fingertips are level. Body's square to the ground, we're not rotating. And if you want to take it to the third modification, if you want just a little bit of extra intensity, reaching forward, reaching back with the leg. Okay, it's hard work this, guys, so acknowledge. And then in control, coming back and bringing that left foot forward, knee nice and high. So good opportunity to rest here. So this will highlight your differences between left and right. So really great exercise. Fantastic for your running, your balance. So if this is challenging enough for you, stay here in this first modification. If you want to take it a step further, we're sweeping that left foot behind, bringing the hands down. Let's stay here. If this is challenging for you, no need to go any further. If you do want to add a little bit of extra intensity, we're reaching forward, reaching back with the leg, nice straight leg. moving into our T shape. And then coming up in control and bringing the feet together. Okay, good work. Take a nice deep breath in and let's get into our squat. So we're going to start off with our first modification with the squat. So feet about shoulder width apart, feet can be slightly turned out, arms out in front. And let's go down, dropping down, keeping the back nice and tall. Make sure the knees don't drop in, and we're going to hold it here. So just a front view, coming down, make sure the knees aren't dropping in, and bringing out, we're creating space through that hip, or those hips. I'm going to hold it here. Stay nice and tall through the back, arms outstretched. Breathe deeply into the belly. Coming up nice and slowly. So there is a second modification that I want to introduce today into this squat. So it's really important if you've had any issues with your knees, old injuries, I want you to take this very cautiously. Go nice and slowly, and any feeling of discomfort, I want you just to back off and ease in. So if the first modification is good enough for you, go straight into your squat. If you're happy to do so, we're coming up onto the toes, nice and tall, hands out in front, with a nice straight back. We're just going to come down, nice and slowly, nice and tall on the toes. So it's really important we keep the back nice and tall, and we hold it there. So any pain through the knees, drop the heels to the ground, and let's hold it here. And then coming up nice and slowly, and down. So take a nice deep breath. And when we're ready for our third squat, let's get set up. So if we're in the first modification, make sure the feet are about shoulder width apart, toes are pointing out slightly. And if you want to take it to that next step, you want to come up onto your toes, and again go down with caution with this one. Nice and tall on the toes, tall back. And holding the arms out. So it's going to really fire up the quads. It's going to be hard work. Come out at any stage. Press pause and practice the move. And then from here, we're going to drop the heels down. Come down into our deep squat. So those in the first modification, you can lift the heels up a little bit, round the back out, and just sink down into the hips. Putting the elbows in between the knees, and let's just hang out here. So it's quite challenging on the legs, those squat sequences, and certainly the one leg balancing. So sink down. Take this moment, open up the hips, heels can be off the ground. Breathing into our belly. Okay, the the squat is a fantastic exercise, probably the best exercise for restoring movement through the hips, restoring movement through the ankles and knees and through the back. And a lot of us have lost this ability just simply through the environment we now live in and work in. So if there's one posture I'd want you to get into every single day as much as possible, it would be the squat. So we can hold on to a coffee table. If we need some extra balance, we can put some towels under our heels, so check out the squat tutorial that I put up, and work away at improving functionality through the hips. It will help with your running, your cycling, your golfing, every aspect of any kind of discomfort and pain through the lower back. Okay, and then from here, we're going to come down, sitting down on the mat. Okay, so straight out with the left leg, and with the right foot, we're going to bring it as close to the back of our thigh as possible, or towards our hamstring. We're going to place the left hand behind. We're going to bring the right elbow over the top of our left knee. Open up the chest, and let's gently rotate. So if it's too intense on the knee, we can shuffle the foot out a little bit further. We can have the hand down, but use a little bit of that pressure through the right elbow to push on the knee and rotate. So again, none of this should be painful. So if anything feels a bit dodgy, not quite right, then just ease back. These routines are about gently improving our range of motion, not trying to bang a square peg into a round hole and forcing things. Some of these restrictions are built up over many years, so we can't solve them in just one class or 2 or 3 weeks. It's about consistently practicing day in, day out to improve how we move. So another nice deep breath in, and on the exhale, rotating a little bit more. One more nice deep breath in, and on the exhale, one last little twist. So we'll feel this restriction often in our upper back. And then coming out and swapping to the other side. So left leg out, right knee in now, right hand behind us, and bringing that elbow over the top and rotate. So straight away you might feel a difference in how well you rotate. This gives you really good information on areas of restriction through the body. It's not going to be 100% symmetrical. I think that's probably a pretty unrealistic goal, because there are so many things that we do that are quite dominant on one side. But it's about really highlighting those big red flags, those real differences. Take a nice deep breath in. And exhale, sink a little bit deeper. You can even look over your right shoulder if your neck's okay to do so. nice deep breath in and breathe out. So the more you do this, the more you'll realise the interaction of good breathing mechanics and how important this is for accessing more range of motion, improving the body's ability to adapt. So the primary focus through all these routines is our breath. Can we do these moves in control? And if the answer is yes, then we move on to the next modification. Breathing in and exhale. One last nice deep breath in and breathe out. And then coming out nice and slowly. Good work. Okay, going to finish up our final posture of the day. We're lying flat on our back, hands up to the ceiling, open up the feet. This is arguably the most important posture. Let's get our breathing. Slow right down. So when we breathe in, aim for 4 to 6, maybe 8 seconds in. Raising the belly up all the way to the top, opening up the chest. Holding right at the top of the breath. And then when we exhale, breathing out slowly, matching the duration of our inhale. So we're regulating our oxygen and carbon dioxide levels when we breathe like this. When we slow down the release of our carbon dioxide, our exhale, we create less tension through the body. We improve how oxygen diffuses into our body. So let's hang out here, breathing in nice and slowly, making sure all the movement's coming from the belly, the diaphragm's dropping down into our abdomen, which is causing our belly to rise, creating pressure in the stomach. Holding it right at the top of the inhale, and then breathing out nice and slowly. So the breath is fantastic for improving cognitive function, reducing tension in the body, sports performance, anxiety and depression, digestion, sleep. So if you've got 5 or 10 minutes here to hang out, then I would highly recommend you do so. If you do need to head off, then make this a priority at some stage in your day, each and every day, just for a couple of minutes to stop, lay down on the ground and just work through some breathing practice. You'll perform much better in whatever you are trying to do. You'll become more efficient. It was awesome having you join me today on the mat. I hope you enjoyed today's session. I look forward to catching up with you again tomorrow. Have a great day. Have a great evening. Thank you very much.